Representative Chris Taylor here from Wisconsin. Welcome to Dallas, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. A big welcome from Wisconsin, my home state. I'm from Madison, which is a great progressive place, so come visit us. I'm really thrilled to be here. I am the only Democratic member that I know of at this Alec conference, and I'm not at this Alec conference because I'm sympathetic to what they do. I'm actually here to expose what they do. I got engaged with looking at Alec and figuring out what they were doing because I'm a legislator in a state where we saw wacky bills that we had never seen before. We had, unfortunately, in this horrible wave election of 2010, got one of the most right-wing ideologues, Scott Walker, in our governor's office that we've ever had in Wisconsin. And unfortunately, at the same time, we had the Republicans take over both chambers. So this was a state, like 25 others, that was ripe for this Alec agenda. And let me tell you, it rolled in. It did not take long. The first thing, one of the very first things Scott Walker did was repeal collective bargaining rights for workers. Well, Wisconsin's the birthplace of AFSCME. We are the birthplace for workers' comp, some really important workers' protections. We've never seen a bill like this. There was no discussion about repealing collective bargaining rights. So that was one of the first things. And then we started to see tort reform, literally closing the courthouse doors to the sickest people, to veterans, to people who were suffering with mesothelioma. We saw all these kinds of restrictions that made it much harder to get to court. And then the thing that really, I think, piqued my interest, and I never could go back after that, was we had a shoot-to-kill policy. We also never had seen in the state of Wisconsin, where you could shoot somebody for them being illegally on your property. It's kind of like what happened in Florida. And they're called castle doctrines, whatever you want to call them. They're shoot-to-kill policies. And we really saw that that had come directly from Alec through these model policies. So I had a colleague, his name's Mark Pocan, he's now in Congress. He, back in 2007, 2008, got onto Alec and started going to their conferences, not as somebody who's sympathetic, but somebody who wanted to kind of expose what was going on. I ran for his seat, picked up his seat, and kind of carried on the tradition. So this is actually my third Alec conference in a year, which is a little much, I will say. It's nice to see some non-Alec people out there. Let me tell you, at this point in the conference, this is the end of the second day, I start unraveling a little bit. So thank you so much for being here and these friendly faces that I see. But, you know, Alec is, it is a machine. The resources are seemingly unlimited. The first conference I went to, and this conference too, I will leave with bags and bags full of materials on every topic you can imagine. Any polling I need, any research I need, anything I need to try to push these model bills, they have for me. And we don't have that kind of infrastructure on the left. We just don't. We don't have that kind of money on the left. So this is an incredibly well-resourced group. This is an incredibly secretive group. This is a badge. I brought some props. This is a badge that everybody has to wear at the Alec conference. You will not get in to the workshops or to the task force meetings without this badge. So everybody has to have a badge. In order to register for the conference, you have to have a photo ID. Maybe that's where they got the idea, I don't know. But the last conference I was at, a lady next to me, they would not let her in. She didn't have a photo ID. So very, very secretive. You sign into every workshop that you go to, and I was so thankful we didn't have to introduce ourselves at these workshops this time because it was just too big of a conference, because at this point, some people actually know who I am. I've written enough scathing reports about the Alec conferences that people know who I am. But you know, how it works really is you have these big corporations who are members. Mainly, I think I'm figuring out now, it's really the coal industry driving it in a lot of ways. I mean, there's pharmaceuticals, there's big tobacco, but it does seem like the coal industry really, really drives it and sets the agenda. So you have big corporate members, they pay a lot of money to become members of Alec. And then you have these right-wing think tanks And you saw there's a right-wing think tank in every single state, and they network together through the state policy network. So that's the second stool. I call it actually menage a trois between corporations, right-wing think tanks, and state legislators. And the state legislators are the foot soldiers. That's really what we are. We're not driving these policies for the most part. I mean, there are some very extreme legislators at this conference. But mostly, these model bills are being driven by the corporations saying they need to make more money. It's all profit driven. That's what this is about. That's what Alec is about. And right-wing think tanks coming up with a policy and the way to eradicate regulations, to eradicate workers' rights, and to make sure that there's no barrier to these corporations making as much money as they possibly can, to the great detriment of actual people. So that is kind of how the system works. And as I said, they are very incredibly well-resourced. The issue at this, I just want to talk, I don't have a whole lot of time, but I do want to talk about what is happening, what am I seeing at this conference. Alec says, and this is, I brought their book, on everything, I'm already out of time, so I've got to hurry this up. So Alec stands for limited government, free markets, and federalism. And that tagline, those words are on everything that they do. The thing is, though, that the free market doesn't quite apply to everybody. Doesn't quite apply to renewable energy. They hate renewable energy, hate solar. I have never heard anybody say anything good about renewable energy at the Alec conference. Well, a very interesting thing happened yesterday at the environmental subcommittee meeting. And that is a representative representing Google, Yahoo, Facebook, and eBay came in and did a presentation about how they need better policies supporting renewable energy. And I thought, wow, this is going to get interesting, because I know who's in this room, and I know the claws are coming out when this guy's done. And so in a great Southern style, that very sweet, gracious style, one after the other, reps from the big Peabody Energy, they really, boy, are they mammoth. They are the, huge, huge pillar in Alec. One after the other talked about why renewables were so bad. And this guy refuted them. I have never seen anything like this. This guy refuted them one after the other, that renewables were cost effective, that renewables people wanted renewable energy, right? Why can't the market drive that? Because they say the market drives everything. So it was very interesting. I've never quite seen a dissent. You don't see a lot of dissent in Alec. In fact, there's almost no debate on these model policies. Almost no debate. How could that possibly be? You have 2,000 people sitting in a conference. I mean, if these were Democrats, my God, this conference would be in a couple months if we were talking about model policies. But almost no debate. These policies are being pushed through one after the other. I'll give you one thing they're very irate about, and I've got to wrap it up, is the EPA's new rules on carbon emissions for existing coal-fired power plants. So they handed us out, these are the props, no fan of the EPA rules. Literally, there were speaker after speaker saying that these EPA rules were going to cause people to commit suicide, cause people to drink, use drugs. They even quoted Dan Aykroyd from Ghostbusters to talk about, that climate change really wasn't real, because Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters was warning about climate change. I mean, it was absolutely insane. So they're all in a tizzy about this, about the EPA and, the climate, their deniers are spinning around like crazy people. In fact, one guy said, we're going to create a political tsunami over this issue of the EPA rules. So they are now plotting what they're going to do. But literally, there are no voices of dissent usually. You do not hear people disagreeing. And I want to close with this. I have many, many issues with Alec. Probably the biggest issue I have with Alec is these model policies that they are passing. And they did pass a model policy saying, we don't want the EPA rule. We want the states to have more time. We want this and that. We want delays. So that was something that we talked about today. But my biggest problem with Alec is that they really try to circumvent the people and that their policies don't help most people. They don't mention people. They never mention actual people. They talk about states' rights. They never talk about individual rights. They never talk about human rights. They never talk about the right to earn a fair wage or support your family. And the first conference I went to, I got into a discussion with one of their lobbyists. Their other little tactic right now is they really want to amend the federal constitution to require a balanced budget amendment. So they're trying to call for an Article 5 constitutional convention, which has never been done before in the history of the United States. But anyway, it is in the Constitution, so they're trying to do that. And this lobbyist asked me, what do you think about that? And I said, oh, I think that's just really a bad idea for a variety of reasons. I don't think people will understand what you're doing and blah, blah, blah. And he said to me, well, you know what? We have the states that we need to control to get this passed. We have the money from the corporations. We don't really need the people. And that is Alec in a nutshell. They want to circumvent the democratic process. They want to circumvent the people. And we're lucky because we know we have the people on our side. So part of what my mission is to expose what they're doing and how what they're doing hurts people in your state and hurts people in my state. So thank you so much. I'm out of time, but I'm happy to answer any questions at the end.